Yo, what's up, my dude?
What is up?
How are you doing today?
Good. It's Monday.
It
We
is
back.
Monday. We
Feel
are
like
back.
We are
Sorry.
back. We're back for more.
Man, I've been missing you, man. It's been a while since we did the last one.
I know it feels like we're in a little bit of a lull right now. I think I've been doing some travel. You've been doing some stuff. And our what if time is getting pushed back a little bit, but it's good because I think it lets people get a couple days to theory craft and get their thoughts together before they join us here on the beautiful and amazing Pixelist podcast.
Yes, that's right, and that is us. And for those of you that are new, I'm Will, and over here to my right, I think, yeah, that's Blake. And
How dare you? It's my left for you.
Really? Wait, but I'm on your left, right?
You are on my left.
Okay, right,
Wait,
and you're on my right. So I think that computes, right?
But I was looking at your video and I was thinking, you're right. It's actually flipped. Okay, yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
It gets confusing. But
I'm an idiot. We're not stupid. We're doctors.
Am I stupid? A little bit.
A little bit.
Little scrubs for you. But yes, we're the Pixelists. We do this podcast on all the nerdy things we love: shows, movies, games, and hey, we actually might have a game coming soon. We talked about it a little bit. So
our listeners have been hurt before. I don't know if we should tease them until we actually commit.
Yeah, that's true.
It just needs to be a Battlegrounds sponsored show.
Yeah,
because then we'll always have consistent game footage to talk about.
There'll be a lot of salt in that podcast, though.
Nerf beasts, Nerf Leapfrogger, please.
It's coming.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Tomorrow, I think.
Oh, really? What are they changing?
I could send you a link. It's a long list, but they're changing Leapfrogger and they're making it so Parrot can't like trigger itself.
Oh yeah, because that was always awesome when Parrot was the last minion,
Yeah.
and it just every swing just like exponentially.
It got ridiculous. People are
this
like,
is
what
good
are they talking about?
when I found myself not losing any games because I just went beast every game, then I was like, okay, this is like the original Quillbore. Anyway, Hearthstone.
Yeah. This little Hearthstone shop talk for you.
We play it.
Yeah. But hey,
we're proud of it.
Today we're here to talk about What If, specifically episode 6, which was
episode 6.
Yeah, which I don't know why I don't look up the title, but it's
What if
Killmonger
rescued Tony Stark.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I didn't know if that was actually the title.
I should have let you say it first. I was trying to be a bro and help you out. I should have let you just do it so you'd have your moment.
No, I appreciate
glory.
It. Now I'm sure. But yeah, so what if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? And I guess first and foremost, I know that you didn't love the last episode. What did you think about this one?
It was a little better.
Yeah.
A little better. Still didn't love it. I would say I liked it more. This was like the best example, like the best case scenario of a follow-up episode, I thought.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
we've been talking about like continuation episodes and like will they revisit episodes, or is every episode, isolated, a singular story. And I thought this was the best case for possibly season 2 what if content. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know why it didn't really quite. I thought it was a fine episode. It just didn't quite ping for me. And I don't know if it was. I thought Tony Stark's voice, which typically they have the original cast come back and do their characters. Or at least that's been the norm for many characters, except for, I guess, the highest profile. I shouldn't say that. I mean, plenty of the high profile characters have come back to do their character. Actors have come back to their character. I thought Tony Stark's voice was a bit off. That's petty and small, I guess. But I think for me, I was kind of just waiting to see where does this go? Like where's the end game in this?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine. I thought it was fine. What about you?
Kind of similar. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Not my favorite of all the episodes.
I feel like this is always such a weird question to talk about because it's like, yeah, liked it. But
right.
like the phrasing makes it seem like it sucked.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, keep going.
No, yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool to kind of see and we'll give a brief recap of the episode here in a minute, but I just thought it was cool to see Michael B. Jordan return and kind of get more of a fleshed out Killmonger, kind of like,
Yeah.
what if he was like very successful, basically.
Yeah, he was I know he was praised, which I love Michael B. Jordan, by the way. But I know he was praised as being like one of the all-time best villains of the MCU. And I didn't really get that sense in Black Panther. I thought he was a cool villain. I thought he was a very relatable villain, but this episode definitely made me appreciate him more.
Yeah, I love seeing him kind of like inhabit that character again. And he's got, which we'll touch on this a little later, but he just has some fantastic lines that I really loved. So yeah, so it wasn't my favorite episode of the whole series. I think it's still the Doctor Strange episode for me, and I think the same is true for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But I liked this one, and I liked the zombie episode too. So I haven't disliked any episode yet. So I'd put this in about the middle of the pack so far for all the ones we've seen. But it was cool to see kind of like, what if this foundational change, because like the MCU exists because Tony Stark became Iron Man, and this is like, well, what if that didn't happen? So it was really cool to see that. And I will dive into more of the nuance of this. So I guess I can just go ahead and jump into the recap so that we can do that.
Sounds good.
So, okay, I'll try to be brief here. But yeah, what if Killmonger saves Tony Stark? So the episode starts just like Iron Man 1 started, back 12 years ago now. I don't know. It's been a minute. With, him riding in that Humvee, he gets attacked, which in the movies is by the terrorist organization, the Ten Rings, which has just recently, become kind of relevant again.
Was that the case in the original Iron Man, by the way?
Yeah, it was. It just kind of like,
wow.
It was just
because I was
that
thinking
Easter egg that's sitting there.
Okay, I didn't even. It's funny because I didn't even put that together. And then when that part happened, I guess later when Killmonger's like, and we'll get to this, but he's revealing the Black Hat info. I was like, oh, that's cool that they changed that for Shang-Chi. But
no, yeah. So it
I didn't know
always
that.
was.
That's cool.
Which
that's wild.
So they attack the convoy, and in the MCU as we know it, he gets captured and eventually creates the suit with a box of scraps in a cave. But this time, instead of that happening, Killmonger shows up. Hercules chunks the missile, which I want to talk about that a little bit later, and saves Tony Stark because he was apparently like deep cover in the Ten Rings and found out about the assassination plot and decided to help Tony. So, because of that, things fundamentally change. Tony goes back and is not Iron Man now because he never had these things happen to him. And instead, he kind of doubles down and is like, you know what, we're going to make bigger, badder, stronger weapons because like this just happened to me. He makes Killmonger his head of security, I think, first.
Yeah.
And which was Happy Hogan's job from the original trilogy. And then shortly thereafter, he also promotes him to just COO of the whole company.
Obadiah's spot.
Yeah, because Killmonger reveals real quick that, hey, Obadiah, by the way, was the one behind this whole attempt on your life. So, he gets arrested, and Tony's like, boom, you have his job, which he gave to Pepper in the MCU. So, they basically becoming thick as thieves, like brotherly from the jump. And Pepper's kind of suspicious. Rhodey, she's like, hey, Rhodey, look into him. I don't trust this. But, they become thick as thieves, and Tony basically, owes Killmonger his life in a way. And Killmonger is kind of like manipulating Tony, as we come to find out. And basically he's like, hey, I had this MIT thesis on these Gundams, basically. And Tony's like, yeah, I'll help you make them. And
which that was a great moment to like give my wife like the quick over the head. Here's what Gundams were, and which then got us on watching Toonami, the space. That one with Outlaw Star.
Dude,
once again, people listening are probably like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, those Toonami promos were so good.
Oh yeah, we watched about 30 minutes of them, and then I realized she was asleep. So
still worth
there's
it.
Goku and there's Gohan.
Dude, I'm no lie gonna watch some of those after this. It's been forever.
Oh yeah,
shout out Toonami. Anyway,
so, gym of our childhood.
Yeah, it was. So they basically get to work on these Gundams, which is like almost kind of like the Iron Man-esque stand-in for this world, sort of like
They looked really similar to Hammer's version.
Yeah, they
In
did.
Iron Man 2, and I think that was maybe intentional.
Yeah, I agree. And so they get to work on that, and they can't figure out a power source for it, and that's when Killmonger's like, "Yo, I have this vibranium ring. Like vibranium might work." Which leads them to basically be like, "Okay, we need a lot more of this." So Tony's like, "Yo, Ulysses Claw, like he's this black market dealer, like he can get us some." So they set up this whole arrangement that they get Rhodey to kind of go facilitate, so it looks above board, to get them some vibranium. And as they're at the deal, Claw and Rhodey, Black Panther T'Challa shows up, because anything involving vibranium, Wakanda is gonna be like, no, this is ours. So he shows up, is like, busts the deal, and is talking to Rhodey, and is like, hey, this vibranium belongs in Wakanda, like do the right thing. And at that moment is when Killmonger shows up, blasts T'Challa with this like repulsor, like paralyzing tech, and ultimately kills him. Then kills Rhodey, takes the vibranium, basically has backstabbed Tony and everyone, and is basically setting up what we come to find out, this grand scheme similar to the one he had in the Black Panther movie of trying to infiltrate Wakanda, kind of get revenge for what happened to his father, and ultimately accomplish the same goal that he wanted to in the movies, which is like get out and help like all the descendants of Wakanda, like because all the struggle they're facing in other parts of the world,
sort of like in their isolation, I guess.
Yeah. So they get the vibranium, Killmonger goes back and is still playing coy as if he didn't do all this because, the Pepper Potts, although she suspects him, and Thunderbolt Ross and the United States Army, like, they're not aware that he set this all up. And so they're like, oh yeah, we're at war with Wakanda. Like, they killed Rhodey and, Black Panther's dead. Like, so basically Wakanda and the United States are at war. Killmonger shows up to Tony, who is keen to what's going on. He saw through Jarvis's barf tech, I think it was called in Iron Man 3. Like he could tell what's happened. And
That's right.
Tony is kind of cold-blooded here. He's like, yeah, I wanted you to come here. Like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, this is what I wanted. Like, you're not surprising me. I got you. And so they have this fight, and Tony, used the vibranium ring that Killmonger gave him to power one of their suits, and basically sixed the suit on Killmonger. But Killmonger brought one of the Dora Milaje's spears and is able to beat the Gundam, as it were, and then he actually kills Tony Stark, which again, he kind of hides the evidence of, so no one knows that's him. And basically, I feel like I'm going too long with this, but basically this is all to set up the war between Wakanda and the United States. And Killmonger kills Claw, goes to Wakanda, is playing both sides. It's like, hey, the United States is coming, I'm here to help. Basically, indeed does play both sides, makes himself out to be the hero that, kind of defeats the army of Gundams that they had made, and becomes Black Panther because he's earned the trust of these people, and is basically like, you know what, now we're going to do what I've set out here to do, and, end the isolation and lift up all our brothers and sisters around the world, and basically is inciting an all-out war. And the episode ends with Shuri, a younger Shuri, having kind of figured this out, meeting up with Pepper Potts, who also has had her suspicions the whole time, and they're like, let's team up and set this right. And that's basically when the credits roll.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of crazy details in this episode. And once again, seems to be a doomed universe. I'm not sure.
I was going to say, and you mentioned this earlier, that you thought this was one of the ones that was set up for possibly like a follow-up episode.
Yeah.
I agree with that because we kind of ended on that cliffhanger of like Pepper and Shuri working together, but that was almost a hopeful note for me. Like, this was the first one that kind of ended on, well, maybe things aren't doomed because Shuri and Pepper are on the case, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. You thought you liked, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Well, the reason I wondered that is because at the start, it gives us the montage of who Tony Stark what Iron Man would go on to do,
Right.
including the snap.
Yeah, that was cool.
The reverse snap, where he snaps Thanos and basically says because he doesn't become Iron Man, he is not then eventually able to stop Thanos. So it does make you wonder, does Thanos eventually just show up during this all-out war and say, all right, see you guys, and then poofs everyone?
That's true.
I don't know.
Like maybe the butterfly effect is that for some reason Thanos never goes on that mission. I don't know. But I think we might even get a part 2 to this season. I feel
think so?
I feel like we've speculated on this with every episode talking about, will we get a continuation? Will we not? And I think kind of I'm leaning now towards that we are going to get almost a continuation for all of them in some way, like, or at least like, like we speculated, we've seen some characters from promo material like talking to each other that we haven't seen yet. So I think we will get more of this, because I think we're going to get, and I don't know how, it's like not necessarily a part 2 to every episode, but like we might see Shuri and Pepper, we might see Dark Doctor Strange and all these characters for some reason come together.
Right. Well, we have 3 episodes left, right? So this if there would be one this season, this in my mind is the one that makes the most sense, because so much is left unresolved. Yeah,
and it did kind of end on like at least an uplifting, like a positive note, as opposed to some of these other ones that were basically like, yeah, these worlds are over. So like at least this one potentially has the chance.
The other one I could see would be the one where if the Avengers died, basically, and it ends with Fury implying he's going to defrost Captain America, and Captain Marvel shows up as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I hope so, because like we've also talked about, the Watcher is becoming more and more present. So to me, and you've said this, you think he's going to intervene. That would make sense. And so perhaps, there's some threat that warrants him plucking all these heroes out that we've seen, that he showed us. And maybe the reason he's showing us this is because, like, hey, this is the backdrop for these multiversal team I'm putting together to stop, whatever the threat may be.
Right. Well, and it's interesting how every episode we see him become more corporeal and humanistic, and the details are so tiny where he goes from, now you see his actual fleshed out body. I think in this episode, not only did we see that, but we actually, with his narration, we saw him talking.
Yeah.
So like I said, it feels like every episode there's just a little bit more of an added humanistic detail, which is, it feels like that would have to be intentional.
Yeah, surely. And I mean, like you and I have both tried to kind of stay blind for this so that we can have like a pure experience. But we both have seen stuff from the promo material that does imply, like, there was the, like, almost the Avengers-esque, like, the shot I'm talking about, but it's like all the new people. Maybe you haven't seen it, but like, so the iconic like Avengers 360 shot with like, at the Battle of New York. There's like a similar shot, but it's like all different characters from like What If, basically.
Oh, interesting. That's in the trailer?
Yeah. Which it might just be like a misdirect, or just like, doesn't actually happen and it's just promo for the show. But
yeah, okay. They are big on their misdirects.
They really are. So like that legit could just be it, and there might not be any type of team up. So
we know that T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, has one more episode that he voice acted. And so your comment on there even being a follow-up this season, the potential is definitely there for sure.
Yeah. I hope so. Because I mean, I think it would be awesome if like there was like I mean, it's been awesome just to see these kind of like one-off, almost Black Mirror-esque episodes, but it would be really cool if they were all connected in some way that was,
what about,
revealed.
And in this episode, when T'Challa sort of confronts Killmonger in like the spirit realm, or I'm not really quite sure what this plane is, but he basically says, you're going to get yours. If not living, then, See you
Yeah,
soon, right?
that
Like
was
wink.
badass. That was one of my favorite lines. I wrote that down. It was like, if in this plane or the next, like to me
Yeah.
implying that like, hey, even if you don't get yours while you're alive, like I'm gonna get you when you show up here, basically.
Yeah, yeah. Which made me wonder. I was in Black Panther, I kind of envisioned it as like this, everyone's just chilling out, hanging on a tree, like life's
Yeah.
good. And I was like, no, it seems like it's not the case, or wouldn't be for him.
Which dang, what a powerful episode, and especially that scene, like given the real life context of what happened with Chadwick Boseman, like that's just it's almost kind of eerie to me that like because surely I mean he voice acted this, so this obviously was all plotted out before he passed away. So just
Yeah.
I mean, not to get like too sad or anything right now, but just like can you imagine like being him recording those lines like of himself
Yeah.
and like I don't know, that's heavy.
It is, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And just
For sure.
like it's kind of cool that they got to like I mean obviously I think there's a lot coming as far as like honoring him with Black Panther 2 that's coming out, but it's
Right.
kind of cool that they already got to do some of that here, with like kind of tributing him in a way, like with the sorry, I can't remember her name, but his mother, being like for Chad or not for Chadwick, but for T'Challa, like a few
Yeah.
different times during the episode.
That was a cool moment too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I almost felt like I sensed like a twinge of, or I imagined a twinge of jealousy in Killmonger, as he's sort of led this charge, and then she yells for T'Challa, and it's like, oh, this is
yeah.
my moment. So, but it's
And
interesting. They didn't even really have much. In Black Panther, there was so much great back and forth between those two characters, and in it's interesting how in this What If episode, he already knows who T'Challa is. He knows it's his cousin. He seems to know what the Black Panther is because he's prepared with this, like you said, repulsor gun to not just
yeah,
paralyze him, but actually kill him. So it does make you wonder back in the original Black Panther what he also knew back then. Because I kind of assumed that he was a little bit in the know of kind of like a 30,000-foot view, but was also, being a bit of a genius that he is
yeah,
also like realizing it in real time. Like, okay, this is Wakanda. Okay, this, here's what the Black Panther is, and here's how I
yeah,
kind of like insert myself.
yeah. It is interesting what he like maybe knew or didn't know, but I mean, I guess it's just kind of depends on what his dad told him. Which I mean, how else would he know? I guess so. Yeah, I don't know, but speaking of his genius, dude is like seemingly one of the most brilliant people in the MCU. Like, how many people did he backstab this episode and like get away with it cleanly? Like literally like six or seven double crosses, I feel like. And
Yeah.
uh just nuts. Like that's why I loved getting to see him again. And it'd be cool if we even got to see him again if there is a follow-up episode, or like we've kind of talked about how some of these characters might translate to live action. Killmonger died in the MCU. It would be kind of cool if like if they brought this version to the MCU that
Mhm.
like is the Black Panther or something like that. Like,
Did he die though?
I mean, I
Did
know
he
people.
die?
It seemed like he did, but I mean, they could bring him back, and
Homie
I,
just
I
hunched
wouldn't be
over.
mad
I mean,
about it.
maybe he was just taking a nap,
That's
Which, by
true.
the way, the end of this episode seemed to replicate that same shot. So at the end where he dies and he's talking with T'Challa, it's on the edge of this massive either sunrise or sunset, I can't remember. There's a similar shot. I think his last shot of this episode, he's doing the same thing. He's looking over Wakanda with this exact same setting, sort of. Rather than in Black Panther, he's sort of resolved to be like, okay, yeah, I mean, it's basically over. It's the opposite. He's saying, I think maybe the dad or whoever is basically being like, yeah, great job, Wakanda, woo. And he's like, no, not just Wakanda. Like, it's not gonna be enough for me for now. And I can't remember the exact phrasing, but it was a cool parallel though with the end of Black Panther.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice that. I'm gonna have to go back and look at that because yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure as hell that was intentional. So that would be cool to see. And just I'm kind of jumping here, but while we're talking about Killmonger, I wanted to hit it. At the beginning of the episode, when he chunks that missile, I was like, does he already have Black Panther strength? But he didn't. So like, dude's ripped as hell, I guess. He just literally throws a missile like over the mountain, it felt like almost.
Yeah, that was weird. I I was like, how did he just do that? And he definitely, I mean, to me, it just, I don't know if it was highlight as well as it could have been in Black Panther, but it just spoke to his military prowess. Like he's like one in a million. I mean, he is one of a kind, brilliant, agile, tactical. You know, I mean, the way that, you know, the 10 Rings terrorists are on the ridge, like way in the distance.
Oh yeah,
and he just like, yeah, instantly pop them.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I almost wish there had been more of that kind of demonstration in the original Black Panther, which Black Panther was a great movie, but I didn't get the sense that he was as formidable a foe as what we saw in this episode, which was even before drinking that liquid, naturally gifted, proficient in all these different things.
Yeah, he was a badass. And I mean, you know, even beating the droid that was like programmed with his skills, like, so he pretty much made short work of it. So like, you know, I think he says like, I guess I'll have to freestyle or something, and then just shows like how great of a tactician he is, you know, in addition to everything else. And it was cool to see that he, you know, he takes off his shirt and still has all those like kill marks or whatever. And actually, I mentioned at the beginning of this, like he has some great lines. That scene was my favorite line of the episode. And one of my favorite lines, it was like, the difference between you and me is that you can't see the difference between you and me. I thought that was dope.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah. And
which is a good point.
Either right before that or right after, he says something like, I didn't want one of these marks to be you.
Yeah. Which was do you believe that?
No, actually, that's what I was going to say was I thought, I don't know. For me, like their bro relationship was very much feigned by Killmonger. I mean, it's like means to an end, right? And so, I don't know. I think Michael B. Jordan delivered. I think every line was delivered with so much believable conviction of like, yeah, I think he really believes that. That was the only line that was off to me, where I thought this doesn't quite make sense to me. And I don't know what route this would have ended without you, killing Tony Stark. Because think about it, that was the premise that actually set off the war. Was they're investigating Tony Stark's death, and they say, "Oh, it's a Wakandan hit job,"
right?
And so that's when General Ross basically commandeers Stark Industries.
Yeah, so he was coming there to kill Tony, even if Tony hadn't have been like, "Hey, I know what you did, and like, you know, I'm gonna get revenge." Like, you know, it seems like that wasn't why he killed him. Cause like, oh shit, I'm caught. It was like, no, he was like coming there to kill him anyway. Seemed like, but yeah. So like that made me wonder, cause there really is no reason for him to like lie in that moment, you know? So maybe he did like kind of actually build some like a connection with him over the time they'd spent together, but you know, wasn't enough to get in the way of his plans, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's the only missed line in the writing wise. I mean, I think it's one of those things that like every relatable villain ends up saying is like, I didn't want to have to do this, but so to me, it felt like one of those kinds of writing cliches or tropes that eventually boils up at some point.
Yeah.
It just unfortunately was, for whatever reason, because it wasn't delivered poorly. It just, for whatever reason, that line it just clashed. It was just very obviously just like, okay, this guy has literally just murdered Rhodey, T'Challa. He's obviously a big backstabber.
Yeah.
Why would I believe that he didn't want to kill Tony Stark?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
like
he betrayed Obadiah of all people.
How dare he?
So, yeah.
How dare he? So, oh gosh, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about speaking of lines, I don't think it was delivered poorly, but while we're on the subject, just Killmonger's Wakanda forever. Like it was so like starkly different and felt so wrong, like coming out of his mouth. And I feel like that just had to be like an intentional thing to show that like one, he's not like T'Challa, and two, like it's not real for him, you know, it's all part of this game he's playing.
Yeah, for me, it was so like obnoxiously out of place that to me, it just pointed out how badly Killmonger was basically trying to play people. I mean, it was so like full of BS as he said it, which I didn't think was a bad line at all. I thought it was a great line to demonstrate just like
Yeah,
how how much he's trying to play people.
right.
But I felt a little offended. I was like, how dare you? That's not your line to say.
Yeah, me too.
But so what do you think it was about this episode though that, because I couldn't really put my finger on it, that made it middle of the pack, where it didn't quite ping quite like the Doctor Strange episode, for example, or even the Guardians of the Galaxy What If T'Challa Was a Star-Lord episode?
I don't know. I mean, again, liked the episode, but I think for me it might have just been obviously it was really different, but it was still kind of similar to the first episode. Like we kind of just saw a lot of the same things just with slightly different
Sure.
like tweaks. Like yeah, Killmonger got to the end game at like a much different way, but like it was still his same plan from the movies, you know. I don't know. Like I don't know. Like it's less of like why this one didn't hit so high for me, and more why those other ones did.
Yeah, that's a great distinction. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Is there anything that like stood out to you?
No, I think actually that last thing you just said was, because I couldn't put my finger on it, and I think you're right. It's like tying it back to the first episode, which wasn't. I liked the first episode, and I was like, okay, this is a cool entry into the series. But those other episodes were so well crafted that I love how you put that. Honestly, it's like what those other episodes did right. The other question I had for you is, for me, every episode I try to trace back to the single difference that led to like the butterfly effect of the outcomes in the episode. And so we know in the Avengers episode, it's because Hope was recruited by Shield. We know in the zombie episodes because Janet was possibly intentionally infected by the quantum virus, which I loved that pickup by you. What do you think was the detail that was different here that led to him coming across the assassination info and ultimately acting on it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like his backstory was exactly the same, you know, from the MCU, just the change being that he was like assigned this deep cover 10 rings mission. So I don't really know what the change was that led him to like be at that place at that time, but it seems like,
was he with the 10 rings in the original Black Panther? Like,
no,
what's his backstory there?
He's like a special forces, like, I don't know if he's a Marine necessarily, but like army, you know, okay. Like, and so I think, which was what he was in the MCU as well, you know, that's how I got the nickname Killmonger, because he was like this highly decorated soldier. And so I think the difference is just the fact that he got that mission. But no, he didn't have that mission in the MCU.
Yeah, okay. Because also the timing of it is very different.
Right, it's so much earlier.
Yeah, it's years earlier.
Yeah, which is why I was confused at first, because I was like, why is Shuri so small? But it's because she was like she was so young.
Yeah. And also I'm thinking, when does T'Challa become Black Panther in Black Panther?
Yeah, I don't know.
In this episode, in What If, he's already Black Panther.
Yeah, he was Black Panther when we first saw him on screen in Civil War. So we don't really know like when he became Black Panther, but you know, presumably according to this, he was been Black Panther for a while. If he was during this, which, real quick segue, that scene where he shows up at that deal was so cool. Like like how he was just like in the shadows tearing people up. It reminded me of like Batman, like animated series Batman. I was like, damn, this would be a really cool show, like in and of itself, just like a Black Panther show. Which
random segue was also part of the Toonami promos. My wife was like, "Was that just Batman?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." Batman was also part of the afternoon block with DBZ and Tenchi
Oh.
Muyo, and
We didn't know how good we had it, man.
life just made sense back then.
Ooh.
Come home, make a little mac and cheese, maybe make some chicken nuggets,
Yep.
make a milkshake or something.
Ooh.
Just, play original WoW and watch the Toonami block.
Simpler
Till
times.
they went out of business.
Did they go out of business? Is that what happened?
They got canceled.
Sad.
So some corporate exec ruined. This is the darkest timeline. So
how dare they?
But yeah, it was very Batman-esque, very cool. And side note, in that scene, I love that they got Andy Serkis back.
Yeah.
For Claw.
Claw, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Serkis is one of my favorite actors just because he just has such a range of different characters he's been.
Dude, he's a chameleon, man.
He's phenomenal. And having him back as that character, it's funny how an animated character could have such a big screen presence, so to speak. And I thought Claw was great on every episode, in every scene that he was in.
Agreed. I was super stoked when he returned, which basically, again, throughout this whole series, most people have returned. Just, there's a few big exceptions, which I think in this case, I think it's kind of more just RDJ had kind of like had his nice ending to the character and probably, is just going to let
similar, I think, to almost said Chris Pines.
Chris Evans. They both kind of, had their nice
same with
the character.
Scarlett Johansson also.
Yeah, right.
Who's also suing Disney, so I don't know if she I don't know if it was the right time to ask.
Not returning their calls.
Yeah. And so no, I think you're right. It seems like the characters who kind of had almost a decade of time with the MCU, if not more, actually. That it was like, I think this in-game was a great ending point.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, characters who have more, I think it's just great in general that these characters have come back to do an animated series. And it's kind of cool how content has evolved. Because I don't know if like my wife, for example, like 5 years ago, if I'd been like, hey, you want to watch this like animated series? She probably would have been like, a cartoon? Like what? So it's cool how like the audience has sort of expanded to where these cast members have been willing to come back and be like, let's do this voice acting and it's gonna be really awesome.
Shows they like care, and are passionate about it, which I think we had I'm blanking on his name. Vision? Paul Bettany. That was him for like the one line this episode as Jarvis, and T'Chaka and I can't remember the queen's name, but Angela Bassett is the actress. They both returned, and so did Okoye. That was Denai Guerrera, I think is how you say her name. So just super cool. And real quick while we're here, it was cool that Angela Bassett's character, we kind of got the development that she was the general of Wakanda. And that, like, the king like asked for her permission. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense because like the women here are like the most elite fighters. So it makes sense that the queen is probably, one of the most badass of them all. And then we got to see her tear it up on the battlefield, which was cool.
And we mentioned that a little bit earlier in this episode of like how it's nice how What If is fleshing out those original iterations that with some details we never really quite picked up on. And it's again, it just speaks to the love of the craft of the MCU, where it's like, okay, we have this, we could easily take this and leave it as it is, but okay, going back, how do we add more nice little details to it to round it out a bit? So
agreed.
All right, so we got 3 episodes left, and next one's it's just over 48 hours away. You threw me when I thought it came out on Tuesday.
I thought it was Wednesday, and so I was
for
confused.
those of you guys listening. Will had texted me. It was a Tuesday, and he was like, you guys gonna watch What If tonight? And it comes out, I guess, at 2 a.m. the night before, so to speak. And I was like, well, my wife goes to bed at like 9 usually, so probably not. And then I was like, oh, it's not Wednesday yet. Okay.
I was like, no, it's out. You can watch it right now.
And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. And I went and told my wife, I was like, do you know what comes out on Tuesday? She was like, no way. But it doesn't.
Yeah,
you guys were checking your schedule. It doesn't. So,
my bad.
Well, for our listeners, we're going to keep doing What If. We got 3 episodes of What If. We really want to get more D&D content out. We've been talking about it. We've been really busy lately. I've been busy with World of Warcraft, The Burning Crusade. They just dropped their latest raid tier, so doing a lot of raiding with that. And then Will's been grinding that MMR on Battlegrounds. Over in the EU, he's already conquered NA. He's working on EU now. So, and Will, you got quite the thing going with the custom lobbies too, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's been fun, man. You should join us.
Yeah, and you guys got to check out Will's stream on Twitch for sure. But we're gonna do some more. We absolutely want to get more D&D content. Me and Will both, we adore D&D. We love Critical Role. And I know a lot of our viewers love our D&D content. So we're looking, we promise, we're trying to get something together soon for that.
Yeah.
So otherwise, anything else we want to tell our people?
Not really. I mean, we could briefly mention the idea for the game we might do, but I don't know if you and I want to just discuss that a little bit more first, or...
Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've, in most of our introductions, I've always said we talk about movies, games, shows, and we've never talked about a game. So,
because we each only play one game. So.
Yeah, basically. Hey, I played 12 minutes this weekend.
That's true.
I got 2 games now.
I was gonna say we're the classic Steam library of I have nothing to play.
100
uninstall games.
Which, side note, if you do ever play 12 minutes, we could talk about that. That could be an interesting one.
Yeah, I'll probably play it sometime this week for sure, or next week.
Well, but that is not the game that we had the idea for. Is Diablo Ii Remastered? I think it's like Resurrected is what it's actually called.
Yeah, Resurrected.
Is coming out this week, and that is a game that both Blake and I grew up with, fell in love with, were addicted to, and
I think it was like the OG. I'm trying to think. I think it might have been the OG game. No, Here's a Might and Magic 3 would have been the OG. Here's a Might and Magic 2, and then 3 came out. That game, Command and Conquer Red Alert, and then Diablo 2 were the 3 games that I played the most of, and then WoW came out, and then I got into Final Fantasy, etc.
Yeah.
But so we have a history with this game.
So
I feel like you weren't that much of a gamer until I brought Diablo. I think I brought it over or something, and you played it, and then you played a lot of it, and then your parents were like, "Get out of your room," and I was like, "It's too late now.
He's mine.
He belongs to Diablo."
But
you need to go to church.
So a big part of our childhoods, and it's like a 20-year-old game at this point, or
yeah,
so,
I think it came out 2001. So yeah.
So
that's right.
We grew up with it, played the hell out of it, and like I said, they're remastering it, and it comes out Thursday, which is 3 days from now. So we plan to put our nostalgia caps on and dive right in, and hope to recapture some of that magic. So I don't know exactly what a podcast on a game is going to look like for us, but I imagine we could maybe play it for probably a little bit, maybe more than just the day it comes out, obviously, and then kind of just talk about maybe our thoughts on it and how it compares, and if the nostalgia has worn off, or if it's kept up.
You should try with a controller. It's been fun with a controller. Oh, he's got it ready.
I got one. But
last question. What are you gonna roll on Thursday?
I don't know, man. I'm still trying to figure that out. Do you know?
I think it's Sorcerer.
Yeah, I feel like that's the smartest play, but
yeah, I've never played one, so
I find that hard to believe. How did you had to have had one back in the day, man?
I didn't have one.
You must have.
I didn't.
All right, well, you say so.
Anyway, all right, we got to do our thumbnail.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't either.
I was trying to think of something from the ep, but
could do a little Wakanda. Maybe that looks a little weird. I don't know.
Do you have a glass or anything here?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, which we didn't touch on this in the episode, so I'm gonna say it real quick. It was kind of cool that we got glimpses of Tony's alcoholism, because he's an alcoholic in the comics, and they didn't really touch on that in the MCU. But maybe because becoming Iron Man kind of saved him from that demon. But in this one, almost every scene he was holding like a glass of bourbon or whatever.
Oh.
So it was I thought that was an interesting
You want to do a
touch.
little cheers or?
Yeah. Can we like make it look like we're almost about to cheers or something? So you need to come.
I'm over here or over here?
Yeah, you're the other way, but you weren't in frame. So
how about now?
A little bit more.
Towards the
other
edge?
way.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay. People are like, why are they holding coffee mugs?
Yeah, this is the weirdest episode ever.
Hey, we do our best.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at PXLists. That's PXLists. And I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
We'll catch you later.
Till next time. Bye, y'all.
See ya.